Hello guys and gals, and welcome! So today we're going to be testing out something really fun. I have a keyboard and a mouse hooked up to my Steam Deck, and I have my Steam Deck running through my Elgato capture card on my computer, and I copied over my procazon to Diablo 2 Resurrected. Just to kind of show you guys, this is in fact the Steam Deck. There's the my Steam Deck account, as you can see. We also have the different programs. I had to get Battle.net running on here and things like that. But for the most part, it's pretty much like a Windows operating system, just not Windows. And obviously, you have to run your Diablo 2 Resurrected program here, and then we have our options. Now, I've noticed that running in the desktop mode for the Steam Deck, I can get 1920 by 1080, but when I am running in the games mode, or the sort of like the big picture mode, what I notice is it runs instead in a resolution of 1280 by 800, which is 16 by 10 aspect ratio. I think that's 800p if I remember correctly. So right now we're in 1920 by 1080, and I'm going to run this through probably the worst scenario possible, which is my procazon. If you have never seen my fireworks layered procazon, let me introduce you to this crazy beast of a character, because she is really going to put the Steam Deck through its paces and figure out whether the Steam Deck can keep up with you know, your traditional computer load. Obviously, this is pushing it much further than you would push a regular computer. However, I have run this on my regular computer absolutely fine. And so that's really what this comes down to, is that the computer can handle this. Can the Steam Deck? Let me go ahead and grab some arrows, and I'm going to introduce you to this character real quick, and then we're going to get started. I don't want to take too long on this. We're just going to figure out what kind of frame rate we end up with, and whether or not that frame rate is acceptable. So let me type in /FPS, just like you would on the PC, so we can get our frame rate up in the top right left-hand corner. As you can see, we're running 42 FPS right now at 1080p. And to introduce you to this character, you're going to have to take a look at these items. They're absolutely insane. Let me move myself over a little bit so you guys can see this stuff. So this character has been set up with the exact purpose of basically making fireworks. That's the entire goal of this character. She has like Shockweb, Poison Nova, Bone Spear, Teeth, Frozen Orb, Nova, Frost Nova, Charge Bolt. She's got Meteor, Firebolts. She's got Glacial Spike, Static Fields, Taunts, Fists of the Heavens, Twisters, Volcanoes, Blessed Hammers, Holy Bolts. I mean, everything in the world that you could imagine is going on with this character. When she fires her bow, all hell breaks loose, and it is very, 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 very detrimental to the computer, obviously. So to do the computer a favor, we're going to change these settings. But as of right now, we're going to leave them to the default of what was chosen. All right, and we're going to go out, and we're going to see how much we can killinate this computer. That's right. You heard me. Killinate. Down to 16 frames. We hit 14 at one point. All right. Actually, 14 frame dip there was actually pretty substantial. Now, in my opinion, anything lower than 30 frame rate is unacceptable. However, and this is a big however, I was still able to play. I was still able to function. All right. So let's adjust these settings a little bit. Let's see what kind of changes we can make. So first off, right off the bat, one of the easiest things we could do is reduce the resolution scale here down to 90. We could also change some of these settings, like transparency quality doesn't need to be that high. Actually, it's already at its lowest settings, isn't it? FFXA could be turned off. We don't necessarily need that. Ambient occlusion could be turned off. Let's do that. Texture quality doesn't need to be like ridiculously high. Let's bring that down to medium. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's also do a frame rate target. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a frame rate target of 30. So basically, if we drop below 30 frame rate, it's going to use dynamic resolution scaling. So we're going to play around with that. We're going to turn that on. And let's go to the River of Flame, really put this through its paces. River of Flame is a little bit more touchy of an area. I think the frame rate usually ends up dipping pretty bad in the River of Flame. So let's see what kind of frames we can end up with here. I mean, overall, the frames have managed to stay pretty steady. The game doesn't look like garbage. And yeah, that's actually not bad. I'm actually pretty impressed with this, especially with the sheer number of effects that I'm putting out. We dropped down to 24, 21, 39. I'd say the Steam Deck is handling it just fine. I'm actually pretty impressed. Let's change to the old graphics mode real quick, just for lulz, and let's see how it does in the old graphics mode. I'm actually pretty impressed with this. I'm not gonna lie, it's looking pretty good. Like, it's not terrible. I feel like if you wanted to get a little bit more performance, you possibly could if you wanted to sacrifice a little bit more resolution scale or something like that. With the setting changes that I made, I'm running at a pretty solid 60 unless I'm actually in combat. And this character is probably the worst, like the absolute worst that you're ever going to see in any kind of situation. I mean, what we're looking at here is basically like the most terrible situation ever. Like 8 people all spamming abilities. You know, you've got poison Nova Necros and frozen orbs and Hammerdins and all sorts of crazy stuff. You know, like you've got an insanely large number of abilities all proccing at essentially the same time. And, you know, it's interesting. I also kind of want to see what kind of temperatures we're running on the actual Steam Deck, so that could be fun. Let's Alt-Tab real quick, and there was actually a utility in here. I believe it's System Monitor. There it is. Alright, so here we go. We've got a System Monitor up on the screen. And so according to this, I wish we could somehow kind of like lock this to the window, but it's doesn't have an overlay. That would be kind of interesting if it had an overlay. Collapse sidebar, system monitor, nah. All right, so what it looks like we're running at right now is about 11.1 gigabytes of memory used. We have a pretty hefty CPU usage of basically about half the cores. I'm assuming that if we were to actually run in there and start firing our bow and putting out some effects, we may see that increase. Honestly, it seems like we're doing pretty good. It doesn't actually have the game up here, but I mean, the system is handling it. It is definitely handling it. Did I change the audio? I did change the audio. Let me turn that down just a little bit more. It's still a little loud. Alright, so the system monitor doesn't have the temperature. I was hoping for the temperature up here. Let me see if there's a different tool that has the temperature listed. System info center, perhaps. Memory. Oh, here's an interesting one. Total physical memory 15.5 gigs. Free physical memory about 500 megabytes. So we're using up quite a large amount of the memory for sure. At this particular moment, we're basically eating up the entirety of the 16 gigs, which is not exactly a good thing. Apparently, it's using some swap space. Is there a... Got fish, dolphin, info center, system monitor. I mean, I would have thought it would have been in the system monitor, but... Maybe it doesn't have a heat pro. Let me pause it real quick. I'm going to go check real quick. That way I don't have to waste you guys' time. Alright, because I was in desktop mode, and the temperature gauge does not work in desktop mode, there is a workaround to make the temperature gauge work in desktop mode. It took me a little bit to figure it out, but I had to go to the Discover and download a program called Mango HUD. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and install Mango HUD. Obviously, mine is already installed. That's why it says remove. And then you have to go to the shortcut of the program that you want to add the HUD to in desktop mode. And you have to type in, I believe it was equals Mango HUD %. I can't remember right off the top of my head. Hold on, let me double check it just to make sure I'm kind of correct, okay? Yeah, I had it like mostly not correct. Command %. So it's Mango HUD equals 1. Command %, and that should do it. And then what we're going to do is we are going to open up the launcher with the command running, and it should give us the overlay. Hopefully the launcher runs. I've had a couple of issues where sometimes I have to restart Steam to get the launcher to open back up. I'm not sure if that is a known issue or not. I mean, obviously a lot of this stuff is rigmarole, right? It's literally you trying to do things that you otherwise shouldn't have to or normally be able to do. Let's just go ahead and do it real quick because I've noticed that this helps. So basically we click on the Steam here, exit Steam, and we wait for the Battle.net launcher to close. Then we open Steam back up. And once we open Steam back up, then we can open the Battle.net launcher a second time. And usually that seems to fix it. And let's see if that opens up the HUD for us, because I want to see that HUD. Should have done that to begin with. Obviously, it would have been nice to see the temperature gauge from running, you know, the procazon. Let me go ahead and pause this, though. I'm going to get this back open, and we're going to do a little bit more testing with the hardware overlay on. All right, so I was unable to get the overlay to work in the desktop mode, even though I seem to have got everything set up properly. It's going to be after something that I dive into, and this whole thing is a learning experience. But what we're going to do is we're going to test it out in the Steam game mode. So in the Steam mode, the resolution is limited to the 16 by 10 resolution, as I was telling you guys earlier, 1280 by 800. Not exactly sure why the resolution is limited in this mode and not the others. So if you do want to play in the 1920 by 1080, you have to go into obviously the desktop mode to do that. But let's take a look at the what kind of temperatures we get up to while we're running in the regular mode. GPU at 90 some odd % there. Yeah, let's take a trip over to the River of Flame, shall we? Can't be a stress test unless we stress it out. That's the entire point, right? You gotta take it into a zone, and you gotta actually like hit it with everything you've got, and keep hitting it too, to see if prolonged exposure to basically high strain causes an issue. Drop down to 29 frames per second there for a minute. I have unclaimed rewards. Problem is I don't know how to claim them. So we managed to bring up to 80 degrees Celsius there for a second on the GPU. I did see 80 degrees Celsius. It does seem like the more effects that I have on the screen, the more strain is on the GPU. .82 degrees Celsius there for a second. It does seem like it cools off fairly well, though. Like, as soon as I cease, you know, spamming every ability in existence, it cools off pretty quick. The CPU has made it up to 86 degrees Celsius so far. 87, 88. I mean, if this doesn't cook your CPU, as you can see, it's handling it quite well. I mean, before in the 1080p, I was very impressed with how it was handling it, and I'm very impressed with the current temperatures, as well as the sustained temperatures. They are going up there, obviously, closer to the 90 degrees C zone. I imagine the Steam Deck itself is getting quite hot at this point. Okay. Next. This is pretty cool. I'm pretty satisfied with how this plays. It is quite an excellent little device. You may actually see me do some streams from the Steam Deck, just for laughs. I'll probably do a couple streams from the Steam Deck. I don't see any reason why not. It uses the same PC functionality. Everything seems to work just fine. The only thing that I might have a little bit of an issue with is somehow opening the game back up when it crashes. Every now and then I have an issue with getting the game to reopen, which is a little bit of a problem. I think we've pretty much gone over everything we can go over, though. I feel like the Steam Deck handles this game exceedingly well, both in desktop mode, the 1920 by 1080p, and also in the non-desktop mode, 1280 by 800. I've also noticed that it really cools down quickly. Like, I would imagine that just simply having, you know, the Steam Deck in a place that was a little bit cooler would probably have a huge effect on the ambient temperatures, because it definitely does pull through a large amount of air. I mean, I'm putting my hand over here. I mean, yeah, it's kind of steamy coming out of the top, but I mean, that's what you would expect for something that I just like tried to explode with the procazon. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when it's a weird video on the Steam Deck. And as always, keep watching.